Go ahead.
Cool. Good morning, District 115. Welcome to another exciting, breathtaking, awe-inspiring, or at least coherent, at bare minimum, edition of Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your District Club Growth Director, Scott. To the left of me, well, over there.
Actually,
someplace.
I'm right below you on my screen.
Oh, well, then right below me.
Wherever I am, I'm here.
Distinguished Toastmaster, past District Director, the illustrious, the famous, the ever-capable Phyllis Tribby. Good morning, Phyllis.
Good morning, Scott, and good morning to our public out there. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, indeed. All you early risers, to use the name of a club. Anyways, we have big news in District 115. The showcase at the Venetian is today. Ken Richardson and his ever-capable bride, Jan, are covering the table for a couple hours over at the Venetian. And we expect to have a lot of foot traffic over there and a lot of people wondering, what in tarnation is this Toastmasters thing? And we're going to tell them what in tarnation this Toastmasters thing is. And hopefully grab a lot of people who may not know about us and have people who are interested in at least finding out at the, as Phyllis so aptly named it, not the demo meeting, but the startup meeting. I like that term a lot better. Yes. I like that a lot better. And Credit One Bank, we are going to be meeting with them 1 week from this Friday to start the process of getting a club charted over there. Warren Stender, one of our illustrious area directors, brought us the lead. They're very interested. They have heard about our organization before, and there's a lot of enthusiasm on the part of management, which makes all the difference in the world.
Exactly.
When we are trying to charter a corporate club. So really exciting stuff going on. And I know Gene Williams, the current district director, probably wouldn't like me to say this, but I don't think the Venetian will be only one club. I think it's going to branch out into more than one club. But in Gene's infamous and very honest words, let's get one club going and then talk about a second club, which is entirely valid and a great point to make. Don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched, as it were. So, Phyllis, what I wanted to talk about today was reasons why the, well, I'll just be blunt. Reasons why things like Zoom and going on YouTube and other platforms to quote unquote learn about public speaking and about leadership may not be the best way to learn it, and why being part of our great organization in a live setting, or at bare minimum in a hybrid setting where you're actually speaking and where you're actually taking on leadership positions of one kind or another, why that is a better avenue to take than simply watching a YouTube video. And the analogy that Phyllis and I were talking about before we went live today was, how do we all, those of us who have a driver's license, which is probably just about everybody watching this and listening, how did you learn how to drive a car? Did you just watch a bunch of videos? I didn't, because back when I was doing that stuff, YouTube didn't exist. it wasn't there.
How true it is.
This whole internet thing wasn't around yet. So we didn't have the option of watching somebody upload a video and discuss with the audience, okay, this is where the brake is, this is where the accelerator is, this is how you parallel park, and whatever the case may be. We have people who have told us in a generic sense, well, I mean, that's all fine and good, but I can learn how to do this watching YouTube, or I can learn how to do this on my own in some sort of self-paced course outside of Toastmasters land. And the response that I would have is, well, how did you learn how to drive? Did you watch a video, or did you have somebody with you in the car and able to correct you on the fly, evaluation, maybe not on the fly, but after your speech is done, and offer you constructive comments? What was great? What could be improved upon? And all of us, myself included, who have been in this organization for some time, we all remember the icebreaker from the old legacy program, obviously, but now in Pathways, of course, we still have it, and a very vital speech. Here's the deal. At some point, a new member is going to sign up to give their icebreaker. And it's maybe their first time behind a lectern, not a podium. I've been corrected on that more times than I can think of by other Toastmasters members. Scott, it's not a podium, it's a lectern. So behind the lectern, there we go. All right, I did my good deed for the day in Toastmasters. And they're going to give a speech about something related to their life or themselves, their resume, their background, their family, whatever it might be. But it might be their very first time behind a lectern giving a presentation to a group of people with everybody hanging on their every word, as it were. And I've always said to people when they give their icebreaker, because I've mentored several people, I've given the icebreaker. Most important part about giving the icebreaker is not the content. It's giving the icebreaker. It's getting up there and talking to us for 5 minutes. That's the most important part, because they get, well, I don't know what I want to talk about. I don't know, they get, and it's nerves. I get that. And I say to everybody who's in that position, pick a topic: your childhood, your parents, your job, where you went to school, a hobby you have, and pick one of those and talk to us about that for 5 minutes. And as you and I both know, Phyllis, 5 minutes for a new member seems like 5 years. We do this Wake Up with Toastmasters gig every Thursday, and we're absolutely stunned when 25 minutes have gone by, because we've talked about certain topics, and it leads us to other things that we want to discuss, and all of a sudden it's 25 after the hour, and we're ready to call it another day in terms of the program. The new member hasn't gotten that experience yet, and they're not going to get that experience watching somebody else give a speech. It's just not going to happen. They can pick up some pointers. They can, oh, that sounded great. That didn't sound so great, and that's valuable. There's no doubt about that. But until you are doing it yourself in front of a live audience, whether that's in person or over the internet, until you are in that spot where you're behind the lectern and speaking, you're not going to get the same experience, and you're not going to get the same kind of feedback that you would probably not get at all in another venue. So the folks that we're going to talk to today at the Venetian, the folks that we're going to talk to in about 10 days over at Credit One Bank. Thanks, Warren Stender, by the way, for that lead. Awesome job, buddy. We're going to show them why this is valuable for their staff to have. It's so valuable that the Venetian is covering dues, which is awesome. It's outstanding. So our job today, Ked's job today, Jan's job today, and they're going to be splendid at it, is to tell the folks at the Venetian and show the folks at the Venetian why this is a valuable use of their time and what they're going to get out of it. And what they're going to get out of it is very simple. They're going to, pardon me, I had to change the screen on something. They're going to be in the position of a speaker, and they're going to be in the position of a speaker multiple times. On the other side of it, the leadership side, they're going to have the opportunity to take on club officer roles at some point, possibly even higher than that, but let's not blow them away. Let's start at the club officer level, which is, I think, the most important level there is, really. If without club officers, you don't really have a club that's advancing and service and serving their members. So, all of us in district leadership and the area directors and the division directors, all fine and good, wonderful people. Absolutely. And we love all of them. The club officers are where it's at. Without the club officers, there's not much going on at the club level. So they're going to get all this. And Phyllis, putting on the spot here, I've been talking now for almost 13 minutes, and that's fine. What's your take on this whole idea of, I can learn it on YouTube, I can learn it by watching various leadership influencers on the web talk about how to be a leader versus, being in the trenches, hands on, and doing it and getting evaluated and learning and going through some growing pains, as it were. What's your take as a distinguished Toastmaster and a past district director on this?
Well, I think that they are correct in that they can get technical skills.
Yeah.
But technical skills do not a speaker make. It's practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the better you get. And Toastmasters was set up almost 100 years ago as a club. So you get support from all of the members. They are there to help you. The next thing is we have several divisions in the Toastmaster meeting, and one of those is evaluation. So yes, someone will evaluate your speech and tell you how they personally thought it was great, how they personally thought it might be better. And then they will end up with the good things. Again, we call it the sandwich method. But more important than you getting feedback is that you have the opportunity to give feedback. So as a member, you will be slated in the role of evaluator, which helps your listening skills a great deal. Another part of our meeting is impromptu. Do you have to answer questions from clients, from customers? Do you have to be on the spot and know exactly what to say when? Well, we practice that through impromptu speaking. So we have what we call table topics master who asks a question and then picks on a person to answer that question. Now, they're not really deep, but they give you the opportunity to speak up. And there are some table topics master, Ken Richardson being one of them, can ask questions which are always going to have a humorous answer. And that makes it more fun. So when you go to a club meeting, you leave there uplifted and you've had fun and you learned something. You do not get that from watching a video. You get that from, corresponding to the people, meeting with people, feedback back and forth. And it's truly energizing. And if you're a person like I started out with no confidence at all, having people come up and say, Phyllis, I enjoyed what you said. I didn't know that about you. And they just are genuinely sincere about your improvement and helping you in any way they can. So the club way, I think, is the best way. because of that confidence builder that the club members give you.
You were talking about evaluations just now, and it occurred to me that there are a couple of things about evaluations that I think are really, really vital. Number one, you are honing in, when you're the evaluator, you're honing in on what the person you are evaluating is saying, their body language, their word usage, all these other things. And then you're giving a report on how they did. It occurs to me that that translates very, very well into how an employer might give a annual review to a staff member. Now, you may not be in a position to do that yet, but the more you take on leadership in Toastmasters, the more your employer understands that you are advancing through the Toastmasters pathways and you're achieving certain levels at certain times. It's not out of the question at all that at some point you would use that Toastmasters experience and your employer would see it. And there's been more than one member who's gotten a promotion because of that. And now you might be in a position where you are leading a team and the evaluation experience that you got in Toastmasters relates directly to coaching your new staff. And, this was great over here. You could do better here and such. So concentrate on improving what I outlined for you, but awesome job on these other things. So I don't always think that people really understand the breadth of skill building that's available through our organization based upon the kinds of roles that you fill in a given meeting. Maybe we don't explain it as well as we could either, and that's something that maybe we could improve upon if we were evaluating ourselves as district leaders, and that's fine. But we have evaluators, as you pointed out. We have general evaluators. We have all these other roles that are very specifically defined in terms of what you're doing. But they're also about developing a specific skill set. And it didn't occur to me that we could kind of put those two together until you were discussing about evaluations and such. So I think one of our jobs, as it were, as people in District 115 trying to get more clubs formed, is make that very clear that the roles that we have in the meetings are designed to help you as in the new member or even the current member, develop a competency around one specific skill. Evaluation is a skill. We even have a competition around it on occasion. That's how big of a skill it is, where you're listening to a speaker and you are in a competition, friendly competition, of course, to determine who gives the best evaluation of that speaker. Did it last year.
Evaluation too could be a situation. It really wouldn't have to be the management. Maybe you're explaining something to management and the situation, and being able to put forth all the information that's needed for management to make a decent decision. Something has gone wrong, and you need to have the skills to evaluate what went wrong and be able to tell it to someone else. So it could be just a situation. Yeah.
So everybody
needs it.
Oh, everybody needs it. And what you just referenced is so important, in that, it may be as simple as we're trying to figure out who the food provider should be for the holiday party coming up. And we've settled on 3 possibilities. Can you give us your honest opinion? That's an evaluation, folks.
Yeah.
It's an evaluation. The vendor A is great. Vendor B whatever, vendor C, pros and cons, and you finally give your ultimate recommendation to the people that need to hear from you. But that's an evaluation, no different than any other. So it's a great point to bring up, Phyllis, and I appreciate you doing that. Again, and we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, and we barely just started today, but we're getting there. Ken and Jan Richardson over at the Venetian, I believe, for 2 hours today, rallying the troops, as it were, at the Venetian among the staff to become part of the very soon to be chartering Venetian Toastmasters Club. They are well on their way, and we're going to get these folks on board sooner rather than later. And then Credit One Bank, they are just starting the process, but we're going to do everything we possibly can, we as in the district, to get them chartered, get them a startup meeting, possibly the same arrangement that we're doing with the Venetian in terms of a showcase or a table at lunchtime so we can answer any questions they have. And let's get some new clubs formed here and be in a great position to keep doing so through the end of the year next June. As our new international director, Jesse Oakley, loves to say, and I love it every time he says it, it ain't June 30th yet. We got a long way to go. We do, but we want to keep the focus on getting new clubs chartered and also getting membership with existing clubs back to where we would like it to be, not just because we want it that way, but because it serves the membership much better if there's a minimum level of membership at each club. Everybody can fill roles, people can give their pathway speeches, and so forth. So that does require a certain number of people that are active members, obviously. And that's going to be the goal of the Club Growth Committee over the next year, to do everything we can to help clubs increase membership to a sustainable level. So a lot of great stuff happening, Phyllis. You have anything you want to add before we close it up?
Yeah, one of the things I think is great about the club and impresses the first timers and new members is the counter report. People do not realize how frequently they use and filler words. And sometimes a whole speech can be one sentence because they continually use but all those connector words that are really not necessary, but they're thinking. And so they use those words. And that's one of the first things I think impresses our new members is when they get the counter report. And then they go home and they listen to people that are on their television and they find out how many ahs and ums they have. And sometimes when you're a seasoned Toastmaster, it's almost like you can't listen to certain people because all you hear is those filler words. So that's one of the first things that impresses. And that helps all of the new members stop using those connector words. Once they're aware, then they stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So shall I give our announcements?
Oh, please do.
Please do. Okay. I think it is the 22nd. We will have our Hall of Fame at the Flamingo Library. So that's at Flamingo and Maryland Parkway. I think it's at 10:30. There's going to be food. So you need to register, and Ken Richardson has sent that out. Invitation. So if you have not gotten that invitation to come, please contact him, contact Scott. If you know me personally, contact me. I will forward you that information. But we will be giving out the awards for the last year and specialty awards and things that the clubs have actually received. The 100% training ribbon will be given out at that time. So please come and visit with your fellow Toastmasters. The next thing up would be game night. And if you've not done game night, it's the last Saturday of every month. It is at 6 o'clock. And the last time I visited, we did Pictionary. And I think some of the things that are absolutely hilarious is listening to all of these people that are on the Zoom account, and they're calling out names and titles. And people have even, just started their drawing. They can't possibly know what it is. They're just making up things. And that seemed to be most entertaining to me, is the way these people want to win. There are hardcore winners there. We get Jesse and Dana and Phyllis Wall. They are competitors, and they like Pictionary. So it's a fun evening. Come and spend it with your Toastmaster friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And Wake Up with Toastmasters on each weekday at 6 a.m. Jean Williams and Jane Jumford, Monday and Friday. Jennifer Smith on Wednesday. I am with you on Tuesday with Ken Richardson. And of course, next week, Scott and I will be back on Thursday. So have an excellent, excellent week until we see you again.
Goodbye, District 115. Have an awesome day. We'll see you next week. Ciao.